going, everybody? So we've got a fun review today as we're discussing Elemental, the latest film from Pixar. I'm always going to be excited to some degree on whatever project Pixar is working on. I've been watching their films since childhood, and I enjoy a lot of their films. However, I can admit in recent years, the films have been very hit or miss, depending on the project. For every movie like Soul and Turning Red that I love, there have been some others in recent years I have not been as big a fan of, like Onward, and most recently Lightyear, actually. And I didn't really know what to think of Elemental. I was kind of on the fence even going into this, which is kind of rare for going into any Pixar film. Elemental follows Ember and Wade, an unlikely pair who lives in a city where fire, water, land, and air residents live together. As they go on this journey together throughout the film, they begin to discover how much they actually may have in common. It's certainly fascinating. After dozens of films over the years, Pixar now has finally decided to pretty much tackle their own interpretation of a romantic comedy. That's pretty much at its core what it's trying to be, Pixar's first romantic comedy, which in essence just sounds like a very intriguing idea on paper, having a romantic comedy with that Pixar flair onto it, because as we all know, Pixar usually is known for delivering phenomenal stories. As it's pretty much expected now when going into a Pixar film, the animation continues to be groundbreaking. It's breathtakingly gorgeous, exploring Element City, highlighting how the multitude of elemental characters use their different abilities in the world, which actually was pretty amusing, just the visual gags all throughout the film, and the fun elements that are at play, seeing the unique ways these characters utilize their elemental abilities, plus the character designs. They're pretty good. It's Pixar, it's kind of what you expect from them, although I have to say, I don't know if necessarily this would count as plagiarism since they were both made by Disney, but Element City does kind of feel very derivative of another Disney film, Zootopia. Not just in the way that Zootopia and Element City just feel very similar structurally. In Zootopia, it was animals, and then Elemental, it's elements. But there are even characters that inhabit the world that kind of reminded me of characters in Zootopia. There's literally a character in this that reminds me of the sloth in Zootopia. It's kind of like the exact same thing, just felt kind of weird to me. When it comes to our two protagonists, Ember and Wade, I thought both of them were solid. They're not top-tier main characters in Pixar, but I especially gravitated towards Ember's story. I quite liked most of her journey. It was easy to find myself wrapped up and invested in her story because it is very emotional because of the stuff revolving around her father and struggling on whether or not she wants to do what she wants to do with her life over what's expected of her and taking over her father's shop. Those type of plot beats I think are extremely relatable for a lot of people that are watching, and it's kind of a shame because it does have a very emotional wrap up to the story by its end, but it isn't the main focus of the film either. It is very much still a romantic comedy at its heart. Delving into the romance of Elemental, unfortunately, it is one of the more predictable elements of the film. Obviously, they're complete opposites, which is part of the point of the film, a love story that brings together opposites, but in more ways than one, due to the fact that both Ember and Wade come from completely different societal classes. All the different elements in the film are from different societal classes. Ember's pretty much being an immigrant story. Ember and her family moved to try and have a better life, and their type of element is discriminated against, and then you have Wade, whose water types are socially privileged and live in these high rises. It's extremely on brand with the romantic comedy formula. It's just never been this literal where one of them is water and one of them is fire, and they're opposites, so they shouldn't be attracted to one another. Regardless, there are still some heartwarming elements at play here, begrudgingly going through the motions till they start to open up with each other, have these tender moments, and accept each other as their romance continues to blossom over the course of the film. But it is very much your standard, stereotypical romantic comedy just in an animated Pixar film. That's unfortunately one of the things that's disappointing about Elemental, in the fact that it is so formulaic and it's trying to play it safe, which is something that you don't ever want to see in any film, but in particular a Pixar film. I think it is a very bold choice that Elemental tries its best to tackle commentary for the immigrant story and racial prejudice at large, but it's just the story it's using to boost that message never digs deep enough, so it ends up feeling extremely surface level. Much like with any Pixar film, I think this will certainly find an audience, especially if you're someone who comes from an immigrant home. I think it's going to resonate a whole lot more with you here, but as far as mass market appeal, I'm going to be very surprised if this hits home with a lot of people when it comes to relatability. The context behind behind Elemental is a very important story. It's just the execution of the ideas I do think fall flat by the end, which is disappointing. While Elemental is a sweet film with a handful of emotional moments, it just never comes close to the top tier storytelling that Pixar is known for. I completely understand now after watching it why the reception of it has been pretty divisive so far. I think at the time of this recording, the Rotten Tomatoes score is in the 60s. It didn't get a great overall reception from the Cannes Film Festival, and it is one of those experiences that I think is going to divide audiences and critics just because the story, I just don't think it has as much mass audience appeal as they thought they did. I don't know. I don't work at Pixar, but I'm very nervous for the overall reception when this film releases, and a lot of people can go out and check out the story. But I've heard my thoughts on Elemental. Make sure you share your thoughts down below. What did you think of the film once you get a chance to check it out? Did you like the film? Did you not like the film? Share your thoughts down below in the comment section. Part of the fun is having that conversation with you guys in the comment section down below. And thank you guys, as always, checking out the reviews. I always do appreciate it. Make sure you like on the video and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already so you update reviews, reactions, unboxings, and more. For next time, I'll see you guys later.